Hey guys, today we are talking all about editing in Lightroom. I highly recommend using Lightroom. It makes things super simple. Once you learn all the different tools and what all the sliders do and everything like that, it makes for super simple editing and consistent editing. So we'll go ahead and get started. So this photo is straight out of my camera. I uploaded it into Lightroom, and then we're gonna go from the library tab over to develop, and this is where we can make our edits. Typically, I use a preset on my photos, but I'm gonna walk you guys through kind of my basic adjustments. So first of all, we're gonna switch this white balance to auto. White balance is all about the temperature of a photo. As you see, when I switched it to auto, the temperature and the tint changed. And so we can make some adjustments to this as needed once we kind of get where we want to be. I am going to bring my highlights down. I typically bring them down. You can kind of see the difference in the sky here. When you come down, you can see more of the clouds. Bringing it too far down makes it definitely look edited though. So we don't want them too low. And then I play with my shadows depending on the photo, but we're just gonna leave them hanging out right here in the middle for now. Let's go ahead and bump exposure up. Exposure is just the brightness of the photo, and every photographer has a different kind of editing style, so it just depends on what you're looking for in your photos. I definitely like mine on the brighter end of things. So this is a great start. We're gonna add some contrast to our photo by using the contrast slider. So bringing it way up definitely gives it more of like an HDR look, which had its time a while ago. Definitely don't see much of that anymore. But I do like to add a little contrast. You can kind of see as we zoom in here. If we bring that contrast down, the photo just looks a little bit softer, and bringing it up just gives it a little bit more of a pop. So we're gonna leave it right there on the 40. Let's play with a couple of these other little sliders. So the whites are just gonna bring out the brightness in the photo. You do wanna watch out with your skies on this as well as your faces. So this little guy right here is definitely in the sunlight more so than his brothers down here. So if you watch when we bring these whites up, see his little face gets a little washed out. So you want to be mindful of that. So we're going to actually bring our whites down just because I don't want his face to be washed out. Blacks does affect your kind of the shadows and the contrast of the photo as well. So you can just kind of play around with that until you get it to where you want it. We're going to come down here to the presence section. We're going to bump up our clarity just a little bit. Usually I'm right there around 10 or 11. The tone curve does similar things as this basic tab. So the highlights you can bring down or up. Highlights also, you can see the difference in their face when you come up. See all of those hot spots on their faces. Bringing it down just makes it a little bit more even. So we're definitely gonna bring that down so that we have even lighting on their faces. Then we can bring some lighting, the lights up a little bit, maybe the darks down just a touch, shadows down a touch. So you're just gonna kind of play with these settings until you get it to where you like it. We're gonna bump that exposure up now that we have our settings, and then let's come back to our white balance. You can see with these sliders, if you come down, your photo gets more cool, and if you come up, your photo gets more warm. A lot of photographers have their preferences on how they like their photos as well. I tend to be more on the warm side, so this is what auto gave us. So let's bump that up a little bit just to get some more warmth in our photos. And then the tint is going to affect the greens and the reds in your photos. I don't adjust this a whole lot, but I do like things a little bit more green than red. We're just gonna play around a little bit more, get it exactly where we like it. And I'm just gonna crop in just a little bit by using that crop button. And there we go. So the really awesome thing about Lightroom is that you can copy. On a Mac, you're just going to hit Command C, and then you're going to select any of the edits that you want to copy in this photo. So we definitely want our basic tone and our tone curve to be copied because those are the adjustments that we made in the photo. You're going to hit copy, go to your next photo. My computer is slow. Next photo. And we're going to Command V to paste those settings. And then you can just go through your photos and hit Command paste and get your edits to where they need to be. So these two, I didn't have to make any adjustments to my edits because they were taken literally seconds apart. The sun didn't change, I didn't change, they didn't change. But this one, I did get a little bit closer and I did change my angle just a touch. So we are going to make some slight adjustments. The good thing is we have everything at a good place, and then we can just kind of make some tweaks here. So I'm just gonna bump up my exposure just a little bit. And let's also bring up our shadows just a touch. Perfect. We're gonna Command copy those edits to go to the next one, and we're gonna paste those. Look how simple. I had already started editing these. So easy. Just Command paste. You can see this one needs a little bit adjusting, so we're gonna bump our exposure down just a little bit. It makes editing go so quickly. So one really important thing about editing is making sure your photos are consistent. I think that is what makes your photos look very professional, is if you do a whole session and your photos look very consistent in terms of brightness, white balance, contrast, all of those things. So Lightroom makes it really easy to do this because you can copy and paste your settings onto all of your photos and then make little adjustments. So now that we have this photo edited, let's go back to this one and just see how it compares in terms of colors, brightness. All right, let's slide that in there. So these are looking super similar, maybe a little bit more contrast in this active photo. So we'll just bump that up a little bit, but we're getting really good, consistent lighting, consistent white balance in these photos. We wouldn't want a photo to be just slightly cooler. You can see the difference there. And we definitely would not want a photo that looks darker. This versus this does not look consistent. So let's bump that back up. So that's just a quick little basic intro to using Lightroom to get consistent, even photos. Be sure to give this video a quick like if you found it helpful, and make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Let me know in the comments below what kind of editing tricks and tips you guys want to see, and I'll be sure to make a video to show off what I know.